Hi there, this is James from Junior Developer Central, and I wanted to give you an update on how the Google Developer Scholarship program's going. As part of this ongoing sort of series of tracking sort of what's happening and what's actually entailed in actually completing the scholarship. So this video is going to cover lesson 2. If you're wondering what happened to lesson 1, well, there's pretty much nothing to it. It was just an introduction, just saying welcome to the scholarship and a short introductory video. So I don't think it was worth actually kind of documenting that. But for this lesson, it's quite interesting. It kind of introduced the concept of kind of an offline first approach. If you ever heard of like mobile first, like, you know, kind of designing your pages and applications for a mobile device first, and then kind of building it up to what it might look like on a desktop. The same sort of thing, but kind of almost thinking what would happen if your device didn't have any connection, and sort of starting with that as a starting point, and how does your page and application handle it. So it's quite an interesting concept actually, and it introduced the idea of a service worker, which it didn't really go into too much detail, but it did kind of brush vaguely, briefly on what it was actually about. So I just wanted to show you what's kind of involved in this kind of process at this point. Basically, you're developing this application. It's a Twitter clone essentially, and I've just left this running. Actually, it's kind of been downloading sort of tweets as we go. So yeah, you're kind of going to be. You don't have to create this application, it's already been created, but you have to kind of go back and look at it from a offline first approach. So what would you do if this particular page had no internet connection? And you get a configuration panel with this as well, and that's quite interesting as well, because you can actually change how the actual application works. So you can actually change the connection that you've got with that to slow, and if you reload the page, you'll see you'll get sort of various errors, and it may load, it might take a while to load. So it's been quite clever the way they've designed that, and actually created that application with those configuration options. They also introduced this concept of Li-Fi, which I'm not sure if I like the term or not, but basically it's if you've kind of got a Wi-Fi connection or a mobile connection, and it's showing that you've got some signal, but maybe it's not quite there and it's not working. It's definitely a kind of a use case that I hadn't really thought of before. So yeah, it's interesting to have that. And you can switch it all the way down to offline. So what happens when the actual server is unavailable? And you can see you get your sort of standard can't connect to server error message. So that's pretty cool. You can also run tests as you go along to check if they give you various checkpoints throughout the first second lesson, and just say, like, you know, put in this test ID, run it, and it'll kind of give you a result and check whether your code that you've done is actually right or not. But for that first lesson, all you really had to do is kind of like check out the code from GitHub and just play around with it a little bit essentially. So the other thing I just wanted to show you as well is this is the actual course itself. I'll probably give you a bit of an update as to how I'm feeling about it at this point. It's kind of fairly basic, although it's kind of a concept I haven't really considered before, the whole offline first approach. It's definitely nothing too groundbreaking. What I would say is the saving grace for it is the kind of people that are presenting it to you, the tutors. They're quite funny. So it kind of makes up for the fact that it might be a little bit kind of basic and potentially a bit dry. I tell you, if it was a couple of guys just like reading off slides or something like that, I think I would have jacked it in by now and gone and just Googled service workers and things. So I'm sticking with it. It's quite entertaining. But the second lesson has been fairly basic. There's not a huge amount, and it's been mainly just some videos explaining concepts, and that's probably why I say it's not been anything too groundbreaking or anything too useful really at this point. There are quizzes as you go along as well, and they do. I'll just have to pause the video because it like plays a video straight away. It basically gives you a quiz and some various options. Maybe just mute that for a second. And what happens when the video is finished playing is it gives you the questions, like the answers to the question, and then you can kind of, it's like a checkbox where you can tick which you think are the correct answers. And I'll level with you at this point. I did do these at 6 o'clock. It's 6 a.m. yesterday morning, and I kind of struggled with them a little bit, mainly because I don't know whether I wasn't quite getting the content of the lectures, or whether I was just not thinking straight at 6 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, some of the questions did throw me, so I did struggle with them a bit. But that's all good, because it's a learning experience and you can kind of go back and try and work out what it was. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the first the first real lesson, the second lesson. Just lots of quizzes and lots of introductory material, and as I say, they've introduced the service worker. So that's pretty much it, really. As I said, I kind of think quite enjoying it in a way at the moment, but only really because of the way it's been presented. I think if it wasn't presented that way, it wouldn't be that great. So I guess if someone's watching this video in the future when they're kind of considering the scholarship program, I'd say, yeah, it's so far it's definitely worthwhile. But I guess we'll see how that progresses with the next few lessons. So that pretty much covers lesson 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to follow along with the scholarship as I'm completing it, and I will see you in the next video, where hopefully I'll cover lesson 3 for you. All right, see you next time. Bye for now.